Good Sunday morning, y'all. I'm going to jump right in here with some stuff. I hope you have nothing better to do on a cold, chilly Sunday morning than to join me with the Mamaw Live. We're going to have fun. Got a lot to cover today. So, let me see here what we got. And I'm tracking you. So, I've got a lot of thank yous and stuff to do, so I'm going to jump right in on stuff. Get me some viewers to hop on. There we go. So, first and foremost, I want to thank Kitty's Cakes. That's little confectionery and coffee shops found in Worthington, Bexley, and German Village in Ohio in the greater Columbus area for hosting us for the Amy Acton interview. They were just wonderful. We had a really good time. And I want you to support the small local businesses, especially the ones that have a progressive slant. God bless them. I also want to thank the Daily Growler in Upper Arlington who hosted us for the Allison Russo and John Kulowitz interviews. They have a really neat business model. In the morning, they're a coffee shop, and in the afternoon, you can go fill your growler with the newest craft beers. So that's kind of a neat place. So if you live in Ohio or the greater Columbus area, I ask that you support those businesses because God bless them, they're trying to support us. I also want to thank Jeremy Barker with Obscure Mics for keeping me mic'd up and getting me the newest stuff out there and always being there when I get in a bind. And Brenda Aubrey with Artsy Aubreys, who's designed all of Mamaw's merch. And she's also a wonderful artist. You have got to get on there and see her Santa designs that she does, her Ohio State design. So please get on there and support there again, small local businesses. Um, and I got a lot of thank yous this morning before we get started, but what else you gonna do? First of all, I want you to see my Be Merry shirt. We all gonna be merry and happy this time of year. We've got about 7 inches of snow and it's 6 degrees out here at Mamaw's. You saw earlier today I posted a picture of the porch. I'm crammed up here in a little corner of my office, but that's okay too. We can still reach out and have fun. I figured this would be a long morning. Y'all can hop on and off at any time, won't hurt my feelings. But I thought, what the hell else are you going to do on a Sunday where there's not really any good football on and it's cold and most of us have snow? So we'll just sit here and just have a heat-cack session. That's Appalachian for just a talking or bitching session, however you want to word it. I also want to thank Sassy, who is my right hand woman in all of this. She does a lot of the technical stuff, she does a lot of the posting. She's taught me a lot of stuff, and she's my technical brains. Um, Things that I think might be a good idea, she's the one who goes, you really don't want to do that. Now, Papa's my editor with all my shorts and stuff, but Sassy's the one that's like, or, you really ought to do this. So I want to thank her for her support. Actually, Mamaw's porch was her idea. When I first started doing this, I was literally just sitting on my porch, just venting. And she said, I think you got something there and we need to. And it has been a success since. So I really want to thank Sassy. The other person that I want to thank just before Christmas is my BFF Carmel. Carmel and I have known each other since we were teenagers showing horses in 4 H together. We had our boys about the same time. We've showed horses together for eons and eons. Um, she and her sister, Beanie, are just like the sisters I never had. And I've always appreciated everything that they've done for me and Papa, and I hope they feel the same. And It's been one of those deals. She's the one person who can tell me to back down and rein in my temper. She's also that same person that tells me go for it when I really feel I need to let my temper go. She's the one that can kick me under the table. So, and she helps out a lot with this podcast that I do too. So I really want to thank Carmel. So those are my thank yous, except for all of you. And I want to tell you all from the bottom of my heart how much I have appreciated this. It's like I know you when I do my lives. If some people don't show up, I get worried about them. I've noticed that on the porch community, we've had people that have found each other that live in the same community that felt isolated, and then they find someone else that lives near them and they've gotten to know each other. And I tell you, please use Mamaw's porch to communicate back and forth and get, if you see somebody from near your area, introduce yourself, get to know each other. That's what we do on the porch. So that's what this porch community is for. And I really love that all of you are getting to know each other and that we are just like some old neighbors that would come over every morning and have our coffee and get on the porch. Because of you, um, I'm 120 people shy of having 88,000 followers on Facebook. Um, wouldn't be offended if you got me some more followers. We have almost 7,000 followers on TikTok. I've got close to 2,000 followers on YouTube. And then we've got Blue Sky and Substack. You'll notice from here on out, Sassy's going to be dropping all of my interviews that I do through Substack to Facebook. My subscribers will see it first, and then after that, we'll open it up to the public and we'll also put it on YouTube. But the nice thing about the Substack drops is there's also these really good narrative articles that go with them. And we can also break them down into smaller um, little pieces, like little minute long pieces. So that'll be a big change that you're going to be seeing from here on out. But it'll be really nice, or you can jump over to Substack and join in. And I really recommend that if you're really super interested in the politics and what's going on. Substack's where all the teachers and brainiacs go, and I really appreciate a lot of what the people over there are doing. So that's going to be a change that you're going to see. So we'll go on. Let me greet a few people that have hopped on already this morning before we get started. Martha Vance is in cold, snowy Roan Mountain, Tennessee. Girl, tell me about it. Wendy Allen said it's 7 degrees in Missouri this morning. Oh, yeah, you're like me. It's a damn heat wave. Uh, and if y'all wonder what happens is you post and it jumps up and I got to scroll back and forth. So please be patient with me. I'm trying to get as many on as I can. Linda Roach says she's freezing her butt off this morning. Carmel says good morning. Are you awake, Carmel? You got your coffee? Shame we don't have any Baileys to put in this coffee, but I guess we're not supposed to do that this early on a Sunday. Good morning, Cynthia Santiago. Melanie Dishman in Proctorville, Ohio. I think you guys didn't get as much. We're in that middle band. Um, I live where 3 counties come together, and we're at a level 3 right now. It's kind of an interesting morning. Uh, Margaret Skinner says, good morning from the UK. Well, bless your heart. Thank you for coming in over the pond. Patty Schreiber, I don't even want to talk to you this morning, Southwest Florida. Dang it. Yeah, I do want to talk to you, but geez Louise, I wish I were there. Heather sending hugs, thank you. Karen Hughes from Philadelphia, honey, I think this weather is headed your way. Marty, well, you're welcome. I love doing what I'm doing too. Let's see. Joan Henry is in Johnstown, PA. Yeah, you're getting the snow we got yesterday. So is Dar in Maryland. And Navy beat Army. Daggone it. But keep in mind, any of those young men that were on the field, where else are you going to see a group of top notch college football players that are willing to lay down their lives for you? And on the Army side of it, you got to keep in mind the reason their team is kind of small by college standards is they still have to maintain their fitness for the military. The Navy gave waivers, but the Army didn't. So there you go. Uh, Very wet Washington State. Oh, I know, man, you guys are really getting hit with the water, and I am so sorry. Please stay safe. Sherry Princeton in upstate New York. Yeah, you're getting hammered. Uh, I just saw Looney, West Virginia. Yeah, Linda McKinney's in Looney, West Virginia said they're supposed to get 14 inches of snow, and I think there's blizzard warnings out for that area of West Virginia, so please be careful. Linda Cheryl, I listen. Here's what we got today. This is what I do. I sit and I write out page after page after page of information that I research to cover on these lives, because if I give you wrong information, it's a genuine mistake. It's not because I'm trying to stir up stuff, and I will tell you if I was wrong. But I make sure that I cross check everything with a secondary source. So I don't tell you anything that I haven't cross checked. And you know that sometimes I'll tell you when people ask me a question, I haven't researched it enough to definitively say that I'm comfortable with putting that information out. Elaine said in Washington, Pennsylvania, they got 8 inches of snow overnight. Um, Susan Martin, I'm just not known for being fluffy. I'm one of people that first meet me don't like me sometimes. Well, most of the time, and then they get to liking me. And it's not that I'm blunt. I'm just straightforward. I don't see any reason to, you know, cover stuff up or fluff stuff up. You ask me a question, I'll give you a straightforward answer. So that's probably one of my best attributes and my worst. But a lot of people don't like me when they first meet. Now, if you will notice here in the comments section, I've got a Google document up there again. Now, some of you filled it in when I did it before, so I'm telling you now that that's up there. For all of you that are my subscribers, if you will fill that out and give me your email, I'm going to be sending out email invitations for a Zoom call so we can see each other face to face and talk back and forth instead of doing this on New Year's Eve, December 31st at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So fill that out if you're a subscriber with your email so that we can contact you if you want to participate. And then when you sign on to Zoom at the right time, just put your first name or what you want me to call you and the state you're from. That's it. So we don't have to worry about any identifiers if you don't want to. But I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll do a year-end wrap-up. So that's for my subscribers. And you'll see there in the comments the Google Doc. Just fill that out, and then we will have everybody's email, and we'll send out the invitations. So, see, I was paying attention, Sassy. Well, thank you, Linda. Boy, my drop that I did on nurses not being a profession and helping Taco out's done really well. If you haven't watched it, give yourself a good chuckle because that's doing well. So let me get back to what I got wrote down here for the day. Anniversary of Sandy Hook is today, and I remember that day so well, and I remember having a compassionate president at the time, Barack Obama, who cried because he's a father. I could never imagine Taco giving a shit. Okay, Jack Smith. This is an important deal that's coming down the pike, and we need to pay attention. Jack Smith has already filed for Eileen Cannon, you know, that judge who isn't worth a hoot down in Florida, who definitely for sale. She's one of Taco's girls, and she kept kicking this can down the road to where Jack Smith couldn't do his job. So Jack Smith offered way back last month to testify publicly about everything he found out about the taco and the stuff that he had hidden at Mar-a-Lago. It also crossed over into information about Epstein and Alex Acosta. Alex Acosta was the um, prosecutor who gave Epstein that real sweet deal and then was made the Secretary of Labor under Taco's first Q. Well, Jimmy Jordan, now you know Jim Jordan, the protector of molesters, because can't say pedophiles, because technically these young men were over 18, but molesters at Ohio State. So old Jim Jordan, who's over the Judiciary Committee, which is kind of funny in and of itself. He did go to law school, but he couldn't pass the bar exam. He's not an attorney. I know. But anyway, he didn't want that stuff to come out in public. He is frantic that this is going to come out in public. So they've subpoenaed Jack Smith to testify, and I believe he's supposed to this week, about what he found at Mar-a-Lago. He's going to try to suppress it and keep it from being public. They have gotten permission to where he can talk, Jack Smith can talk about the classified information that he's got. But this is an important story because we need to know just how far Jim Jordan and the MAGA bunch will go to cover up for the Trump family grift. How much did Taco sell to the highest bidder to enrich himself when he was out of office? And where did this information go? A lot of it involves, remember back when the senators, there were 6 specific senators who are going to get paid $500,000 per phone, where the records were subpoenaed, and all Jack Smith did was find out who they were calling. Most of them were calling Taco at very important junctures, like tipping him off. And when they opened up the government, they slid that in there to pay these jerks off. Well, they're all upset because they feel their rights were violated. Really? If they wanted to subpoena our phone records, it wouldn't be a deal, and we sure as hell wouldn't be getting $500,000 per thing. So this is really getting ugly. But that also tells me the old Shakespearean, thou doth protest too much. So if they're so worried about what's going to come out in public because Jack Smith was willing to go public in a hearing with this, man, I'm sorry. There's a bone there to be dug up. So keep watching that. I think that is going to end up being one of the more important stories in the coming year. They're waiting kind of to the end of this year, but in the coming year, this is going to have some big ugly. All the more reason we have got to flip this Congress and Senate. Absolutely have to. I think there should be some impeachments when we flip it, and I don't mean the taco. I'm talking about some judiciary positions like Eileen Cannon. I think that we need to be impeaching Kristi Noem. I think we need, and I'll discuss what she's done. And I really think Blondie Pam Bondi, the protector of pedophiles, needs to be impeached. So those are real big ones. I would say Petey Pie Hegseth, but I don't think he's going to last that long to be impeached. I think Taco's going to cut him like bad bait on a fishing line. The next thing I have is the Epstein file release. That's supposed to be done by the 19th. Here it is, the 14th. And I want you to keep in mind all of those photos that were just dumped day before yesterday, those were dumped by the Democrats who got them from a subpoena from Epstein's estate. That still didn't come from Blondie Pam Bondi, the protector of pedophiles. Although there's a couple of pictures in there. And remember, Blondie Pam Bondi, along with a couple of his attorneys, that Halligan, with Erica Kirk, all of them were part of the Teen Miss USA pageant crap that Taco owned. They're all connected. They're all in this mess together somehow. But anyway, those photos that were released, and let's see. Do you notice how long Steve the Creep Bannon, how many pictures he showed up in? Boy, isn't that interesting the way things were laid out as of the first taco term, and how Steve Bannon's kind of sweating bullets right now. Because the smartest thing that can happen if there are charges brought out of this Epstein bullcrap is that they be state charges. That's where Florida, why those investigators and police officers in Florida were so mad that Acosta swooped in there with Epstein and made it federal charges. So if there was any kind of pardon, and that's what they've done with the witch of the South. I'm not even going to mention that woman's name. If he pardons that woman. But anyway, on state charges, like Maxwell couldn't be pardoned if the state had charged her. So I think anything that comes out of this Epstein release, they're going to have to work out something with the states so these can be state charges, because you know old Taco's going to pardon them if they're federal charges. But anyway, we saw Bannon in a lot of pictures. We saw Bill Gates, Alan Dershowitz. Now, he's that big fancy lawyer for celebrities. Bill Clinton, although Bill Clinton's photos did tend to be with adults and not with children. That'll be seen. Woody Allen, and of course, the Chaco. Now, the Democrats who are sitting on this tranche of photos from the estate said there's some that are just really disturbing. You know what? You need to quit your crap too. Just unleash them. We're all adults. We already know what this is about. We've read the book. Release the damn photos. You can black out the faces. We need to see how depraved they are. We also need to understand what we all suspect, and that's that Epstein really made his money not from selling those young girls, but that he made his money from a blackmail scheme, because that's what this is all looking like. So let's see what he had that he was able to blackmail the most powerful men in the world. So keep up the pressure on the Epstein list. Okay. We had another college shooting today, or well, yesterday. They did finally catch who they believed to be the shooter. 2 dead, 9 wounded. Bondi Beach, Australia, 12 were killed, 29 wounded. How many more people? And I mean, now I'm telling you, me and Papa are responsible gun owners. I was a sports shooter. I was in the military. And every responsible gun owner I talk to has no problem with background checks, has no problem with registering their guns, requiring that they stay locked up, raising the age of gun ownership to 21 again. And let me put this in perspective. A lot of this crap from the gun lobby, it's new. Back in 1969, when Papa came home from Vietnam, now he went there as a 17-year-old. He was a combat veteran. He got back to the United States, he couldn't own a gun. He had to wait till he was 21 to own a gun. And we changed that. Well, being 21's a good thing. You have to be 21 to buy alcohol, but you don't have to be 21 to hold a deadly weapon in your hand. Now, think about if that makes sense to you or not. We should have background checks because people can die with those things. So I really think, eventually you can't keep kicking this can down the road. You can't be falling to the gun lobby. We have got to do something because even though this also happened in Australia, even though there's people killed in the UK, we know what doing nothing has done. So we've got to think about doing something. Also, keep in mind that after Reagan was shot, we passed the Automatic Weapons Act. People didn't have automatic weapons till that expired. People didn't have a problem. They could still go hunting. They could still go sport shooting. They could still have their guns. And I'm here to tell you hunters do not use AR 15s, AK 47s, SKSs. You don't shoot your meat with an automatic weapon. That's a bunch of bull crap. Again, that's just sold by the gun lobby. That's all I'm going to say about that. Um, but along those lines, if those of you who live in the state of Ohio, Ohio just passed the Charlie Kirk American Heritage Act. Really? We're going to make a saint out of Charlie Kirk, who did what I do. Believe me, I am no saint. But the other thing that really disturbs me about that is Mr. Kirk. I hate to speak of the dead, but Mr. Kirk is the man, after a shooting of children, said that it's still worth it in order to protect the Second Amendment right. That's what he said. Not that it needed to be fixed, not that we needed that, but it was okay. So CBS, in tying in, because they're part of Paramount, Paramount's trying to buy Warner Brothers. So they've got to, make the taco happy because the tacos administration has to approve such sales. So they did that Erica Kirk last night, that special. I hope none of you watched it. I guess it was Friday night. I know I certainly didn't watch it. Um, she just reminds me a lot of Tammy Faye, not only in her appearance, but in her ability to turn on the waterworks. She's so concerned about her children and the publicity. Well, then, honey, you don't go out and seek publicity and you stay home and take care of your children, which is what your husband said women were supposed to do. Not get educated, stay home, watch the children. And part of the problem with our little boys, and you can look all this up on YouTube, part of the problem with little boys is that most of their teachers when they're young are women, and so they're being put under the thumb of a woman. Erica, that's what your husband said. So please forgive me if I'm not being all that sympathetic. You have my heart. Oh, just dropped an earring. You have my heart as far as being a young mother with young children. But the rest of this is this just dog ain't hunting. So I'm sorry. That's how I feel. My show. Mama gonna say what she wants. But along those lines, so like I said, they're trying to buy Warner Brothers. This is a furtherance of the Trump family grift. So we have Netflix was supposed to buy Warner Brothers. And Netflix got kind of tied up a little bit. And suddenly there was a play made by Paramount. Paramount got its financing from three Arab monarchies and Jared Kushner, which A goes to show you that Arabs and Jews can get along if there's enough money involved. It's true. So Jared Kushner is now thrown in with these three Arab monarchies to prop up this deal to buy Warner Brothers for $108 billion. And guess what? The Chacos administration has to approve this. So how do you think that's going to go? You think Netflix is going to win the bid? Or do you think the son-in-law Jared's going to win? Exactly. The corruption, they don't even try to hide it anymore. The corruption is on a whole nother level. And this grift continues in that the taco put everything, all of his stuff, into a trust, which some presidents have done. We've had wealthy presidents in the past. Let's take the Roosevelts. Very wealthy family for their time. But they put everything into a trust, a blind trust, which means they couldn't see it, they couldn't manipulate it, they got no benefit of it. The taco put everything in a trust where he is the sole beneficiary and he very much knows what's going on. And since January of 2025, when he took office, the taco has made another $3 billion off of his grifting, and then sits there in the Oval Office with his little infomercials, hawking watches that nobody ever gets, phones that people have ordered and not gotten, his crypto coin, his all of his stuff is being hawked out of our White House, which is against the law because you're not allowed to do anything political with our property. So, yeah, that's some more of the taco stuff. Okay, so let me get up here and do some more. Whoops. Hang in there, folks. Get some more questions here. So, Lynn Richards says she did not watch any of that crap, and they're all going to go to hell for this shit. I'll say it. They're doing, yeah, people have gone crazy. Josu Taylor said, worth it to save Second Amendment. Think about that. Didn't watch anything that had him or her in it. Thank you very much. If you'll remember back when it first happened, I didn't talk about it for a week. I just felt it was inappropriate. And to be honest with you, it upset me. It was horrible. Nobody should be assassinated. And I will say that over and over. Nobody should be assassinated. Nobody should be killed that way. But in that very same week, we had college and school-age children again killed in school shootings. And not a peep was made, just a little blurb on the news, and then they went on with it. Really? Children who had their life ahead of them? That's what really bothered me. Yes, Lisa, it's to the point now. Lisa Artrip says she's so damn fake. It is getting to that. And the hypocrisy of what her husband espoused about women, about going to college. He told everybody that college was a big scam and all that. And yet, she is supposedly a college-educated woman with a PhD. Keep in mind, she went to Liberty University, and now she's out there running this multi-million-dollar company that he developed, and not just staying at home tending the babies and getting another man to run it. The hypocrisy is just nauseating. And for the women that still support and vote for MAGA, and that kind of hypocrisy doesn't bother you, the fact that Taco is calling professional women pigs and telling them to shut up and all this stuff doesn't bother you, what kind of human being, let alone woman, are you? There is nothing MAGA's got for women except they want your vote, they want your pocketbook, and then they want you to go in a corner and shut up. Megan Stordahl says, did you see the EU auction yesterday? Yes, to give them it's to the point where she's talking about they're giving funds back to Ukraine that were frozen from Russia. Yeah, the only way that the Ukraine's going to get any help is going to be from NATO without the U.S. and from the EU. Taco's so far up Pootie Poo's butt that it ain't even funny. Everything Taco is doing to Venezuela is straight out of Pootie Poo's playbook for Ukraine. That's what the Taco's got in mind. And where Pootie Poo wanted the wheat, oil, and nuclear energy that the Ukraine provided, as well as the seaports, that's exactly what Taco's going after in Venezuela. Yeah, don't like Venezuela's president, but we're not into regime change just because we don't like somebody's president. That is outrageous. As much as I don't like Taco, it would not be incumbent upon Venezuela to come and, try to liberate us from him either. Think about it. It's a two-way street. Yes, Natalie James. Kushner needs charged, but remember, that little apple didn't fall far from the tree because his daddy was in prison for just these kinds of business dealings, and Taco pardoned his daddy. His daddy is a felon. Uh, yes, Linda, you got to find a man that is all in for what you got to say and not one that tries to shut you up. And I will say that to any woman. Somebody wants to shut you up, then maybe that's just not the partner you need. Uh, yes, Debbie Hart brought up, and my husband brought that up yesterday, that it was Charlie Kirk's organization that wanted to raise the bail for the gentleman who beat Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer. That kind of is why I find it hard to be completely forgiving and all encompassing of Marjorie Taylor Greene. After Mr. Pelosi was attacked, she just kind of chuckled about it and said, "Couldn't happen to a better fella, ha 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 ha." Yeah, that was horrible. Now that people are threatening you, they actually attacked him. So uh, I just have a long memory. I'm sorry. Uh, yes, Laura. Bradbury said, "I'm in agreement with you on all Trumpety Dumpety Pig and Piggy family need to be stopped. The only way they can be stopped is we have really got to snap out of it. We have to be informed voters. We have to get out and vote. If you've never participated in helping a candidate before, this is the time. You cannot sit this out. You cannot sit back. You cannot be polite anymore. You cannot say, well, we just don't discuss politics at events. Yeah, everything is political. And people that say, well, they don't know or they're independent, no, this isn't the time for that. This is the time to choose a side, and I hope you choose your fellow Americans' well-being. We just can't do that anymore. Okay. Well, and like I said, Wendy Allen says Kushner is a crook just like his daddy-in-law. Keep in mind, his daddy was a crook. So yeah, it's all of them above. Callista Queener, is Kushner part of Skylink? I do not know. I can try to find out. I know that they're all tapped out and tied up together, trying to work out some things with Elon Musk. Boy, Elon's kept it quiet here of late, hadn't he? Of course, he's living off of our dime, too. Let me see. Okay, let me continue on. All right, shoot, I'm just to part three now. It's going to be a long morning, so if any of y'all have to get off, but I tell you, it was just one of them weeks. So, if y'all remember, Venezuela, no, let's go back even further than that. Let's go back to the tariffs. The taxes that Taco levied upon the average American, that he's not legally allowed to tax us. He said these tariffs were on all these countries because he's too stupid to understand we pay the tariff cost, not the other countries. I do digress. Well, because of that, China said, I'm not paying the extra money for your damn wheat or your soybeans or your corn or any of the other produce you produce. I'll go to Central and South America. And they did. And they got big old contracts with Brazil, with Argentina, with all these other countries in the South, and got just as much, propped up their government, and then their farmers had a bumper year and they're standing there holding the bag. That's how it all started. So then the taco, for whatever reason, just because he likes the Argentinian president, which is kind of weird in itself, said he was going to give Argentina 20 million, but wait, no, I'm going to give him 40 billion dollars. So he gives Argentina $40 billion, and Argentina turns right around and makes out another grain contract with China cuts our farmers straight across the throat. And then the taco says, well, to bring our beef prices down, we'll just start bringing in Argentinian beef with no tariffs. So there you go. That is what the taco did for the American farmer. Now, let me back up a little bit because I remember this very plainly with the Farm Bureau Association and the Cattlemen's Association, and then people getting on TV and on YouTube and talking about don't believe in socialism, and they're supporting Trump, and it's okay to cut these programs because that's socialism and we're not socialist, and they just got on the Fox News hamster wheel, socialism, socialism. When anytime we talked about healthcare, y'all remember that? Okay, so here we are. We're bailing out farmers for $12 billion, except most of that $12 billion is going to go to the big corporate farmers who are holding the bag as well. It's not going to go to these family farmers. And these same family farmers, the realization just hit them, oh shit, I'm on the Affordable Care Act. So guess what? Their health insurance is about to skyrocket, or they're going to go uninsured. Now, let me tell you, for the people who don't like socialism on health care, it is actually not having health care coverage that causes prices to go up. Because anybody that goes to an emergency room, first of all, emergency rooms are more costly. You're going to slow them up. Remember how urgent care has really helped alleviate the way emergency rooms used to be? So you're going to gum up those again. We're going to shut down our little urgent care clinics. Now that Linda McMahon has determined that nurse practitioners aren't a profession anymore, you're not going to have nurses going into practice to where you can go to a good old nurse practitioner when you got the flu, cold, or whatever. So that's going to shut down. This is all part of our healthcare mess. And prices are going to soar. We're going to shut down small rural hospitals because they're not going to be able to afford not being paid and having people go to the emergency room. That is what the Affordable Care Act prevented. You know how they used to be able to not give you health insurance because of pre-existing conditions? That's going to be gone. Remember how you could keep your children on your health insurance until they were 26? That's going to be gone. So all this is part of the Affordable Care Act that everybody squawked about. It was socialism. And now the Republicans, rich freaking white men, have decided, the rich, you don't need the health care that they're getting on our dime by being a member of Congress or Senate. You think about that. They're going to continue to have health care, and you are not. Yeah, tell me about socialism. Whine about socialism. This is the prime time for us to say, fine, you don't want to give us the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, then we need to go to a single-payer system like Bernie Sanders has been screaming for 25 years. And he's absolutely right. Every other developed, wealthy nation in the world has a single-payer system. Everybody should be paying in to Medicare. If they're working, then they can still have a carve-out for Medicaid subsidies. And instead of having a cap, you earn so much and then you don't have to pay in anymore. No, you pay in year-round, no matter how much you make, you pay into it. If you have vast investments and you live off investments, you're still going to pay into it. That's what we need to go to. And don't tell me it's socialism. It's being a damn citizen and a human being, because that's the only fix, because Republicans have determined that the average American does not deserve to live a healthy life. Now, going back to the farmers, these are the same people who were okay with all this and supporting taco, and then Elon Musk swoops in and shuts down USAID. And Taco said, well, we don't need to be giving people food around the world. Well, number one, yes, we do. If you saw a dog on the road that was starving, you'd toss it a bone so it would eat, or you put out a little pan of food so it would eat, even if it's a stray. And you don't want to feed human beings, many of which are hungry because of policies the United States has levied on their country at no fault of their own. Many of them are suffering from environmental disasters and problems because of things the United States has done, and that's a fact. But I do digress. So we go back, we do away with USAID, which actually fed people. But the other thing USAID did is it bought all the excess grain and food from our farmers. It was actually our farmers' second largest customer behind the U.S. government, who kept our critical grain reserves. So old Taco, right out of the chute, shot them farmers in the feet. They don't believe in socialism. So he's going to bail them out, which really isn't going to help the small family farms. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm an old farm girl, but I'm here to tell you, every single one of you farmers who voted for that man and who still think you're supporting that man, shame on you then. My socialism shouldn't be used to bail you out. You need to rethink your life. You need to rethink what you're doing. It's the same with what they're doing to immigrants. You're boo-hooing you can't get farm workers. That's who you voted for. And it gets back to everybody that's suffering that voted for the taco. You thought it was all funny, them rallies and getting on somebody else's case, as long as you thought you were putting it to somebody else. And now you realize by putting it to other people, it's just like the good Lord did. Whatever you do unto the stranger, you do unto me. Well, it's coming back tenfold. That's all I'm going to say about that. But no, I'm not happy at all that my taxpayer money is being used to bail out farmers for a self-inflicted wound. And it's socialism, by the way. So anytime, there again, I'm telling you, we have to fight information with good information. Stop being quiet. And the next time you hear somebody say, Democrats are socialists, say, you damn right we are, and you're living on the benefit of socialism. If you go to a library, you got a public school, you got public roads, we've got public airports, food, bailing farmers out, all of that is socialism. Our health care should be. On the economy, see how I just roll this right into what we're doing, gang? So on the economy, we continue to lose jobs. Taco back in August fired and quit releasing our monthly jobs reports because he couldn't manipulate the numbers anymore to make it look good. So his attitude is, no news is good news. Yeah, well, it doesn't work that way, does it? So we're losing jobs. There aren't many new jobs. Now there's fewer firings because employers are keeping who they have that's trained. Young graduates coming out of high school, coming out of college, are going to have a hard time finding jobs. Many areas where the taco said his tariffs would bring jobs back has actually backfired. Here locally, we had a very large paper mill shut down. It was replaced by a rubber glove company that has a third of the employees at minimum wage. That's what the taco's done. You need to say it plain as you can. We had two of our two U.S. senators, our governor. Oh, we're going to keep this paper mill open till the first of the year. It was shut 6 weeks later and replaced. They all got their pretty little picture taken. They all put screws to everybody. You need to remind people of this kind of thing. And I know all of you have got these stories all over the country. The other thing is Taco in his speech in Pennsylvania, all them people a hooping and hollering and holding up their signs, all happy, saying that affordability was a Democratic hoax. Really? So an organization called Groundworks Economics, their think tank, nonpartisan, ran the study, and since 2020, our food has gone up. Now I'm talking about just food prices. 25%. So, taco, the new word. Did you ever hear the word groceries? My new word, groceries. Did you ever hear that word? Yeah, we all go out and get groceries every week. We know exactly what that word is, you boof. So, 25%. It's not your imagination. When you go to the store, it hurts that much. What you used to buy even a year ago is nowhere near how your dollar's stretching now. Bird flu's over. People have reconstituted their flocks, but prices are up. We've become flockitarians, not vegetarians, but people don't eat anything off a hoof anymore. You can't afford it. But this is all the tacos doing because everybody said, "Oh, he'll be so great with the economy. He's a big time businessman." No, he's a big time con artist. He made his fortune because he had a fortune from his dad and he lost most of it. This is the only human being on earth that loses money at a casino. He had a TV show that was fake and it sold him as this big time business guy. He wasn't. And this is what you get. So we have someone who is just raping the treasury and the country for what he can get out of it. And then I will guarantee you, when it looks like he may get charged when he's out of office, that dude's going to take off for Qatar in that plane they gave him that we're paying for. So that's what's going on with our economy. Not your imagination. It's harder, it's tougher, and jobs are getting fewer and fewer. I want you all to keep up the pressure on Petey Pie Hegseth and the U.S. Pirates of the Caribbean. That's what we've become in your name. Pirates not only pillaged and plundered, they murdered people on the high seas. So there's not a whole lot of difference in what we're doing. We're going into international waters. We are attacking fishing boats. We are not at a declared war. So these, I'm telling you, and I say it over and over, these are not war crimes because this is not a declared war. This is straight pirating and murder on the high seas in our name. And keep in mind, every one of those missiles are $1 million a piece that are going off and blowing up these little fishing boats that A, we have no proof they are full of drugs, and B, the Admiral Bradley has even admitted he knew that they were not headed for the U.S. shores. Now we're stealing oil tankers. Now, I misspoke before, and I want to clear something out. I said that, because I was on a roll that day, that Venezuela had sweet crude. I had it backward. The U.S. has sweet crude. It doesn't require that much refining, and we can refine to make it gasoline. Venezuela is sitting on more oil than the Arab nations are, but it's this heavy crude. When I say heavy crude, it's usually made for diesels and other petroleum products because it takes too much to refine it and too much to make it a gasoline. So the Venezuelan crude is not desirable. That's why we never dealt with them in the past. We always went overseas when we needed to supplement our crude. But what the taco in his little lizard brain thinks is he's going to hijack this crude. He's going to bring it to the U.S. and try to get it refined. And then he's going to bring down gas prices because that'll make him a hero. Well, what that refining is going to do is totally ruin our markets on what they can refine. Just kind of like what he did with the Argentinian beef and our beef and the Argentinian farmers versus our farmers. People, Taco and Scott Bessent, are two rich-ass brats that do not have a clue how to run an economy. Just because you're rich doesn't mean you understand the economy. And they're wrecking the people in this country. So anyway, I don't think Petey Pie that we're going to be impeaching him in 2027. I think he's going to have to resign before long if he has not criminally charged himself. Speaking of criminals and being charged, in Ohio, in Cincinnati, Ohio, we finally had a supervisor with ICE arrested and jailed for good. And man, I give the Hamilton County Sheriff, who is a woman, credit. She is ready to take on the federal government. This supervisor of ICE has been nothing but a thug and a bully for years. He got hired by ICE and was immediately promoted to supervisor because he's so freaking mean and there's nothing he wasn't willing to do. And I suspect, if truth be told, he's probably one of those J6ers. He's in his mid to late 40s. He began dating this young woman when she was 18. It's only been in the last couple years. She's 20 now. And he began using her as a punching bag. In the last year, they have been on calls for domestic violence to that apartment a dozen times, Hamilton County. And he gets out, they charge him, and sure enough, somebody from Homeland Security shows up. He's critically important, and this is feds, and they take him. So these ICE agents in some areas aren't even going through what other citizens go through because they just call and Homeland Security comes and gets them out. In August, he broke this young woman's pelvis. And she got a restraining order. He was to stay completely away from her, no contact till that hearing. Last week, he tried to strangle her to death. They arrested him, and this time the Hamilton County Sheriff put him in jail, and they've got him at a no bond hold for now. So keep an eye on that. Finally, Homeland Security put him on administrative leave. No, they should have freaking fired his ass. They knew he was a problem, and I am sure he abuses anyone that he detains under ICE. So these are the kind of people we're dealing with. And keep in mind, Petey Pie Hegseth has had domestic violence charges against his drunk ass, too. And here he is over a department, and they weren't for naught. I mean, he's got 2 ex-wives that are terrified of him. And the current wife that he has had brought charges before, and now everything's fine and hunky-dory. And I'm telling you, them old leopards don't change their spots. So that's what's going on there with the ICE supervisor. And I'm sure a lot of these guys with ICE are being put in jail. Well, let's see. I'm about to lose my feed here. There we go. Okay. Now, I've released my interviews that I've done with Amy Acton and Ty Pinkins. Ty Pinkins is running for Senate in Mississippi. He's a veteran. He's a JAG officer. He got his law degree from Georgetown, retired from the military, and went back to Mississippi, and he helps poor people for free. So please, after we're done talking here, I'm going to release that. It's also been released on Substack. Please watch that, and if you are in Mississippi or anywhere in the South, please support him. Then, for those of you who are in Ohio or surrounding states or states that have a woman governor, please help Amy Acton out. If you just send her $5, that's a huge help when you have this many followers. I met with Amy. She was wonderful. You have got to watch this interview about her. One of the big things that the Fox Echo Chamber and her opponent, who's the fake Vivek Ramaswamy, we're going to talk about him a little bit, said was, oh, she quit. No, she didn't. When she resigned her position, it's because Larry Householder, who is now in federal prison, but at the time was the Speaker of the Ohio House, wanted her to sign an order sending people back to what would have been an early death. Under her guidance Amy Acton made Ohio the number one state in flattening the curve during the pandemic, and fewer deaths per capita happened in Ohio because of Amy Acton. She was then awarded the JFK Profile and Courage Award from Carolyn Kennedy because of her actions. So she didn't quit. It wasn't because of threats. You've really got to hear her story, and she's exactly the kind of governor we need. And for everyone who says, oh, we're not ready for a woman governor and Ohio just won't, okay. Look at all the women governors we now have where they said they're not ready for a woman, where the polls were all skewed. We are exactly ready for a woman. It's going to take women to clean up this mess. And the number one woman leading the charge is Big Gretch up in Michigan. That's where Michigan's doing things better than Ohio. They got Big Gretch. So please watch that. And if you can help Amy out, even if it's $5, please do. Because I think she's exactly what Ohio needs, because we got to get rid of that fake Ramaswamy. So let me tell you what my issue with Ramaswamy is, in case you didn't watch my last drop. Let me put this down. Jiggle this a little bit. Everything goes to sleep on me. So Ramaswamy, who's running as a Republican, if y'all remember, he tried to run for president, and then he got to licking, I will say, Taco's boots, but you know what I mean. And Taco praised him, and now the Republicans aren't even going to have a primary because, you know, he's been anointed by the Taco. So Ramaswamy's tried this fake story, just like his best friend J.D. Vance, otherwise known as Jimmy Hamill from Yale. They all went to school together, all really good buddies. So they have these little fantasies built out to make the voters happy. So let me tell you about Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, who is dark complected, I'm fine with that. But he pretends, he thinks he's a white Christian nationalist good old boy. And he's all for putting his boot on the throats of immigrants. He's all for screwing over people and taking away their health care benefits, their school benefits, their food benefits, because you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. His parents came here from India. They were professionals. His mother was a doctor. He and his brother were born. They became citizens because they were born in the United States. And then his mother becomes a citizen. His father still isn't a U.S. citizen. But this man doesn't believe now in birthright citizenship because, you know, he's better than the rest of you. It's called a caste system. He always brags about when he got to Yale, making his first millions as a student at Yale. What he fails to tell you is his parents gave him $1 million to start his little investment thing. Then he likes to run around Ohio and brag about how he was this great CEO of this pharmaceutical company, and he ran this company and he made billions. And he did make billions. Of course, the company's housed in Texas, I believe. It's not here in Ohio. What he's not telling you is he had 8 employees, one of which was his mother and his cousin and I believe his brother. So there's 3 of the 8 employees. Yeah. He did not run a big multinational, multi-employee organization as a CEO. He's a little snot-nosed 40-year-old who thinks he is so privileged, just like Jimmy Hamill, that he should go to the front of the line. He thinks he's going to be one of those good old boys, anti-immigrant, anti-poor people kind of person, be at the top of the line with the GOP and the MAGA movement. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. When you walk out that door, they make fun of you being a Hindu. They make fun of your skin color. And you're only their useful tool, but they sure like those checks you write. Now, I'm going to be just as blunt about it as I can. How they're treating other people of color, how they are treating non-Christian nationalists, how they are treating people that are different than them, how they treat immigrants is exactly what they say about you. You better get over it. You better accept it. And you better look in the mirror, buddy. So that's what Mamaw's got to say. Came on my porch. Okay, so let's see what other, that's all I had for news, but let's see what all people have to say. All righty. Narcissists are always narcissists. Boy, you got that. Oh, yeah. Linda McKinney brings up that West Virginia has Jim Justice. Now, Jim Justice started out as a Democrat, and then when Taco got in office, he thought, damn, I'm about ready to get in a lot of trouble over this coal company rigging. So he becomes a Mr. MAGA, and then thought maybe I better jump in the Senate so I can pass some laws to cover my butt, and it didn't work. Jim Justice really should be in jail, but he's not, because, you know, the rich never go to jail. Uh, yes, Russia's trying to do a U.S. takeover, and they wouldn't. Listen, Russia does not have, we found out with Ukraine, my God, they don't have the weaponry we thought they had. But you know why? Because of what's trying to happen here. When you have a handful of oligarchs and a president who raid your treasury and consolidate under everything under just a handful of people, that's what happens to your country. The people go hungry. You don't keep up with modernization of your infrastructure or your military or anything like that, because that would take money out of your pocket. That's exactly what happens. So y'all better pay attention, because Russia's got it rough, and that's why they're trying to get Taco to invite them in. And remember, Taco was so cash strapped when he ran the first time around that he and his sons had gotten into this deal of purchasing expensive property, expensive by our terms, and then reselling it to Russians for a horrifically ballooned price. And it's not that Taco was pocketing all that money, it's because he was laundering that money. You wait and see if the truth ever comes out. All right, Brenda. Whoops, Brenda, I just lost you. Brenda Aubrey, and remember, Artsy Aubrey's. Y'all looking for the unique handmade local gift, you go to Artsy Aubrey's. Brenda says everything the Taco does is for his benefit, period. Whether praise or money, he's a con artist and a thief. And he absolutely is. And she said great interviews. Please watch those interviews. If you can't find them, some people are saying they're having trouble finding me on Facebook. You simply Mamaws, Mamaws, Porch, Porch, N, the letter N, politics. And like and follow me at my page. And if you say you can't find something, instead of waiting for it to be on your feed, you might have to go to where the little, it looks like a magnifying glass. And I'm not insulting anyone, but I do know I have some older viewers that don't know the mechanics of Facebook. And you type that in, and then it'll bring you to the page, and then you'll be able to find everything at the page. So that's another way you can find Mamaw's Porch and Politics. Make sure you like, follow, and then I ask you to share with everybody. Just saw Laura from North Carolina. Francina Grant wants to know, do you think we'll ever see the second boat strike video? Yeah, we're going to see it. PewDiePie can only hide from it so long. I think there's going to be congressional hearings, because this is just like the Epstein files. It's to the point where even the other Republicans can't keep covering his little grassy ass. Janie said, I came a little late to the porch. Do you think they will take us out of NATO? God, I hope not. But, you know, if I were NATO, I'd kind of be fed up with the U.S. I mean, I'm just being honest here. It breaks my heart. We were the hero of Europeans, and now they roll their eyes, and they got to make up fake little soccer peace prizes to placate our toddler president. Okay. What else we got here? Yes, Peter Thiel and Stephen Miller are scary individuals. Now, I did a little drop on Stephen Miller. I hope you all enjoyed that the other day. Kind of wrapped in South Park with it. But, honey, I don't need to touch Peter Thiel because South Park, oh my God. That's why I'm worried about Paramount. Good Lord, did they fry the tacos administration all season, which I loved. Gail Krause Burns says, how did such a horrible human being get into office and ruin everything my husband and I worked so hard for? Our medical insurance has tripled. Gail, I'm going to tell you exactly, and I've said this ever since I started doing these. Taco is in office now because 10 million voters who voted for Joe Biden sat it out. It's not that he beat Kamala Harris. They just sat at home. And a portion of those, because of our stupid electoral college, came from Michigan because there were a group of people that were pro-Palestinian. I'm not going to get into that one way or the other. But they decided they weren't going to vote at all because they didn't like how Biden was trying to negotiate. Okay. Well, that's what got us Taco because the Electoral College. It got down to Michigan. And I'm telling you, every one of these 7 swing states, every one of them went to Taco, barely, regardless of what he says. It was barely that twist because of the Electoral College. And people sitting home because they were mad is what got us the Taco. So those people are just as guilty as Taco's followers for the mess that we're in. Sitting it out now is not an option because this is what you get when you decide not to vote. And that's why this move on this gerrymandering has been so critical. It has to do with our electoral college. God bless Indiana for having the guts to stand up to Taco and say no, because all we do is escalate the insanity. Ohio, once again, being corrupt and trying to race to the bottom. You've got Ohio, Texas, and Florida that are the 3 sorriest, most corrupt states in the union, and they race to the bottom. And that's why it is incumbent upon all Americans to watch what's going on in Texas and get them a senator that's a Democrat or an independent. That's why it's incumbent upon Americans to flip everything in Florida that they can. And in Ohio, that's why Ohio needs a Democratic governor and a Democratic senator, and as many Democratic congressmen as we can get, because it has to do with the Electoral College and it has to do with holding this administration accountable. And so, as I keep saying over and over, A, you can't sit this out, and B, even though these people are not from your state, once they get to Washington, what they do affects all of us. And that's what's critically important. They affect all of us. Well, I've held you all on here for over an hour. It's been fun. Bet you didn't know Mamaw could talk this much. I could talk more. You can ask my friends that know me. So I thank you a lot. If you all are interested in getting on, if you're a subscriber and would like to do the Zoom on the 31st, make sure you fill out that form that was posted here. Make sure you go back and read these comments. They're really good. I go back then. I'll spend the afternoon going back and trying to answer these, or at least letting you know that I read them and I saw them, even though it's hard for me to do this while I'm also talking and being online. So I really appreciate all of you doing that. We will do this again Tuesday evening, but I'll keep it short Tuesday evening. Hopefully the snow will be gone by Tuesday evening. So I thank you all for joining me on this. Yes, this will replay. I will download it and then replay post it so you can watch the replay on it. And I will also post it over on YouTube. Now, be sure to watch my interview with Ty Pinkins, and absolutely be sure to watch my interview with Amy Acton. It was really good. All right, I'll talk to y'all. Oh, and go back and watch my interviews with Brian Bangs, who's running as an independent for South Dakota, and Todd Achilles, who's running as an independent in Idaho. These are three outstanding veterans who are running as independents for Senate, and we have got to take our country back. And the way you do it is to think outside of the box. All right, stay salty, y'all. And by the way, they did a whole blurb on the news the other day about a Republican congressman and senator all boo-hooing about all these calls that they're getting from people, and they just don't know what to do because then the taco gets mad at them, but their constituents are mad at them, and they showed the cameras of them ducking in and out and hiding from their constituents. You keep it up. You all keep it up. You let them know you're not doing what I sent your ass there to do. So stay salty. Keep calling your congressmen and senators. Support all the local businesses that you can in this season. And if you go to Kitty's Cakes, my husband said to tell you that they're so good, it'll make your tongue slap your brains out. Yep, we live in Appalachian. We've been locked in here too long. And use your outside voices. I love y'all. Talk to you later. Bye bye.